Hello there. Just trying out a new camera, new setup. Turns out lighting is really hard. I'm in my cabin, I don't have hydro here just yet, so I'm trying to light a set with stuff like this. It's not easy. It's a hard old thing being a... Oh no, it is. Any YouTuber who complains about how hard it is trying to sell you something. Anyway. So in order to make a sort of camera test a little bit more interesting, I thought I'd try and make a video out of it. So today I want to talk about this book here. This is Moby-Dick. I finished this a couple of months ago after reading it for what seems like all year. This is a difficult book to get through. It's a very interesting book, but it's a bloody terrible novel. It's just about the worst novel I've ever read. Only a small chunk of it is actually story. For every chapter of story that you've got in the book, you'll have 2 chapters about the construction of whaling ships, and then another chapter about the symbology of that construction. It's bloody weird. And it just kills the pacing and makes it really hard to just stick with it. After I finish a book, I'll generally go on the internet and see what people have to say about it, see what I missed and this, that, and the other thing. And I feel like I'm going crazy. Everybody else on the earth is wrong but me. I'm the only person who gets this book. So if you haven't read this book, you might think, well, it's a story about whaling. It's an adventure story about whaling. That's a disguise. It's subterfuge. This is not an adventure story about whaling. Or if it is an adventure story about whaling, it's the worst one ever written. A lot of eggheads come up with all of these sort of philosophical interpretations of it. Oh, it's a book about X, Y, and Z. It's got these allusions to the Bible or Greek mythology, this, that, and the other. This book appeals to a lot of the literature interpretation crowd, and I don't understand that appeal at all. For the most part, Melville does that interpretation for you. So like, what is there left to do? There's a chapter devoted to the whiteness of the whale, in which he talks about, well, whiteness symbolizes purity, virtue, a blank canvas to be written on, the whiteness of the superior race, this, that, and the other. But it also symbolizes death, putrefaction, rot, decay. If I was part of that overinterpretation crowd, I might look at this and think, oh, well, great. You did the work for me, Melville, thank you. Now I don't have to think. The book has got all of these biblical allusions, so the Captain Ahab, that's a Bible name. Melville goes out and spells out the significance of that Bible character, so you don't have to go and read the Bible to understand Moby-Dick, because Melville does that work for you. Getting in the way of any interpretation that someone might have of this book are the lengthy chapters that he devotes to the intricacies of whaling. Yeah, probably the largest single part of this book by volume is devoted to the intricacies and history of whaling. No philosophical interpretation of this book stands up to that. People talk about it's a story about revenge, it's a story about... and you can tell that I'm not part of this interpretation crowd because I can't remember them. They just went in one eyeball and out the other when I was reading them on the internet. Herman Melville, peerless, allegorical masterpiece, is the epic saga of the fanatical Captain Ahab who swears vengeance on the mammoth white whale that crippled him. Often considered to be the great American novel, Moby-Dick is at once a starkly realistic story of whaling, a romance of unusual adventure, and a searing drama of heroic courage, moral conflict, and mad obsession. It is world-renowned as the greatest sea story ever told. Widely misunderstood in its own time, Moby-Dick has since become a classic of American literature and a standard by which other novels are judged. With its shifting point of view, the bloody heck, Shakespearean characterizations of the crew of Ahab's whaler, and use of religious imagery, filled with portents, dark in its structure as well as narrative, as it builds slowly but relentlessly to an inevitable tragic climax. Moby-Dick can be seen as the mirror of an era as well as a work that spans the ages. This is baloney. This is bloody hogwash. Bloody, absolute bloody hogwash. Narrative that builds slowly but relentlessly towards an inevitable tragic climax. Yeah, it goes towards a tragic climax, but it's not a building. We imagine a graph where it's tension rising. That's what this gives the impression of. That isn't what happens. Moby-Dick is like this. It's like one of those heart rate monitor things. Something happens, nothing happens. Something happens, nothing happens. And the things that happen in this often don't really link together in any meaningful way. This is very episodic. We killed a whale, and then we sailed around for 3 months. And then we killed a whale, and that doesn't have anything to do with the first whale that we killed. It's not a building, it's just something happened, then nothing happened, and then something happened. And then eventually they run into the white whale and they sink, and so on, so on, so on. It's like the X-Files, actually. You know the X-Files, there'd be like 2 episodes a season that have got the smoking man in them? It's like describing the X-Files as having building slowly and relentlessly to an inevitable tragic climax. If you take the smoking man episodes in isolation, maybe. I don't know. To me, Moby-Dick is a book about whaling. That seems really reductive to say, but I don't mean that in a reductive way. I've thought about this book for bloody ages, and this does not make sense at all as a book about obsession or vengeance or this, that, and the other. The only way that this book makes sense is as a book about whaling, because such a dramatic portion of the book isn't devoted to narrative, it isn't devoted to whatever its core central theme is, it's devoted to the intricacies of whaling. And any analysis of this book that doesn't cover the obsessive detail to whaling is a failed analysis. Okay? To my mind, Moby-Dick is about those intricacies of whaling. There's a chapter where he talks about the way that when they go after a whale, they lower into these little cedar rowboats. He spends a chapter talking about the construction of these cedar rowboats, how flimsily built they are, because they have to be light so that they're fast and maneuverable, because you've got to chase after whales with just oars. He spends a chapter talking about the way that the harpoon ropes are laid out in the bottom of the rowboat. He talks about the feel of the ropes in your hands, the way that the whaleboat stinks after you've butchered a whale. He talks about the difference between a harpoon and a killing lance. That, to me, is what Moby-Dick is about. And any analysis of Moby-Dick that doesn't cover the difference between a harpoon and a killing lance is a failed analysis. Here's my interpretation of Moby-Dick. Herman Melville, during his misspent youth, ran away and went to sea. He served as a whaler for, I don't know, the better part of a year or something. That year was one of the most emotionally intense periods of Herman Melville's life. He comes home, he resumes his middle-class life, and nothing ever seems to quite compare with that. Now, that wasn't always pleasant. Maybe it wasn't often pleasant. But it was an important experience to him. And in his middle-class world, he doesn't have anybody he can talk about it to. You go away to war, you come back, there's lots of middle-class people around who, they've been to war, they understand it. How many middle-class people have been whalers? So I think this is Herman Melville trying to explain to his middle-class peers what whaling means. He's trying to share his experience of the most intense period of his life. He wants you to know everything there is to know about whaling. He wants you to see, this is interesting. And that's my interpretation. It's a well-educated, possibly autistic person trying to explain to his know-nothing peers why this means so much to him. I feel like that, you know that meme where it's got the drooling moron on the one side who says, on the one side you got the drooling moron who says, Moby-Dick is a book about whales. And then on the middle you've got the smug egghead. Well, actually, Moby-Dick is about man's perseverance in the face of despair. It's a book about obsession and revenge and this, that, and the other. And then on the other side you've got the wizard looking grim and saying, Moby-Dick is a book about whaling. That's how I bloody feel about this. And I'm not prepared to listen to anything to the contrary. This is a bloody book about whaling. Finally, would I recommend Moby-Dick? If you're into it for the story, absolutely bloody not. Go and watch the movie. The movie gets the pacing way the heck better. The movie covers all the same beats, but it gets the pacing right. If you're interested in the story of Moby Dick, go and watch the movie. I don't even care which movie, the Gregory Peck one or the Jean-Luc Picard version. What the heck is his name? It's not Jean-Luc Picard. Patrick Stewart. Gregory Peck or Patrick Stewart or whatever. The movie is a better story than this one. The story in this bloody sucks. The symbology, it's spoon-fed to you. Baby's first symbology book, because he just goes ahead and points out the symbology of every bloody thing. It was a dark and stormy night. Now let me spend 2 pages to talk about the symbology of the night being dark, and another 2 pages to talk about the symbology of the night being stormy. Baby's first symbology book. If you're interested in it from either of those 2 angles, don't bother. Don't bother. If you're interested in whaling, this is absolutely the best book you'll ever read. Like, I can't imagine a better book about whaling. And that's the only condition under which I would recommend it to you. I've rambled on quite longer than I intended. Sometimes you come across a book that you feel something about. This book made me feel things. This book made me feel things, and it made me feel things completely different from everybody bloody else in the world. It's so frustrating. If you care about like the intricacies of the whaling industry in the 1800s, this is a really good book because it makes you feel a lot of the presence of it. Like when he describes the feel of the tarred ropes, you can feel that in your hands. It's really vivid from that angle, and I just don't get it. I don't get the pop appeal of this because I don't imagine that appeals to. Bloody heck! I keep going on because it's. I don't know why I keep going. I look at myself and think, I haven't shaven. I haven't shaven in like a month, in honor of the maritime tradition of the book. And I'm lighting with a storm lantern, an oil lantern, in honor of the notion of whaling. I don't understand the appeal of this book. The story is told so badly. There's no pacing whatsoever. The pacing is non-existent. The pacing is just trash. It's a really bad novel. From the egghead point of view, digging into things, I don't get it either because he spoon-feeds everything to you. I don't see the appeal in that. People who like looking for clues, he examines all the clues for you. He doesn't want you to miss a single one of them. I put 1,000,000 clues into this book and I don't want you to miss a single one. Right? So I don't understand that appeal. The only appeal I get in this is as a detailed look at whaling in the 1800s. Here's what an educated whaler thought about whaling in the 1800s. And I don't see that appealing to normal people. I see that appealing to freaks like me, but like, bloody heck. Anyway, what is that, 20 minutes? I've been talking for 20 bloody minutes about this book. I meant this to be just a little 5-minute thing, like nobody gets this. Whatever the heck. I hope you found this interesting. What the bloody heck? See you later.